How's it going, everybody? Welcome to Riley's Redzone, and in today's video we're going to be taking a look at all of the upcoming games in the NFL this week, entering week 5, and we're going to discuss every single game, some top storylines, and I'm going to give my picks for who I think will win. So to recap, last week was a good week for the picks. We ended up going 12-4. So that puts the overall record at 42-22. And then when I pick upset picks so far, I'm 10 for 17 on those. And as you can see, we have some more this week. So there would be a lot to find out how that's going to look next week because there's a lot more on the table. So with that being said, let's jump right into the action. Let's talk about what we have going on this week in the NFL, starting with the Thursday game. We have the Bears and the Commanders. Two teams, that are going to look for a win here, of course, but the Bears have not been able to get one. And they, at this point, might have a couple of top picks in the draft because Carolina is also struggling. But either way, the Bears have really been struggling against anybody that they have played. They actually had a shot this past week, had a lead against Denver, weren't able to hold on, and that ends up keeping them winless. And the Commanders, I would say, have won. They started 2-0, and they, have they always seem to keep it close. Like they keep it close with the Eagles there this past game, and they talk about whether they should have gone for 2 at the end or not. But whatever happened, they had a shot in overtime, to make plays, and it didn't quite happen. And so they didn't get that. But I still like what we've seen out of Sam Howell and what they can do in that offense. So here, I have to go with the Commanders, just a safe pick here. There's no really reason to pick the Bears against almost anybody right now until they prove otherwise. So I'm going with the Commanders on that. Which, once again, to specify, in case you are new to the channel, I do put the spreads to give an idea of who is favored in the matchup, but I just pick who I straight up think is going to win the game. Maybe someday we'll switch it, but for now, that's the way I go with just who I think will win the game outright. The Jaguars and Bills this week, I'm going to go with the Bills here. The Jaguars do pick up that win in London or in Andy's room if you watch that broadcast, but the Bills have looked good. They get that win against Miami last week. They bounced back. I was shocked. They were a little bit shocked they were going to be favorites last week, but I did pick them because I thought that at home they'd get it done, and they did. Here they're 5.5-point favorites. It's very interesting here because the Jaguars are always sneaky. I mean, when they're at their best, like at the end of last season, they were dangerous. That's why they were able to get past the Chargers in the wild card. I mean, they have some high-flying offense capabilities to really put some points on the board. But I think I have to go with the Bills here in this matchup. I think it's a little bit more consistent what they bring to the table on here, and the upside of scoring points is a little bit stronger with the Bills and Josh Allen. But still, Jags are a solid team too. So I'm going to go with the Bills, but this could be a close one. This next one, I have to say, once again, I've said it maybe 2 or 3 times now at this point, way to go Texans. I mean, they keep winning games that I haven't. I don't know if I've even picked them once this year because I just was like, they're playing a decent team. There's no way, but they're going to keep it close is what I always thought. But they've been, as of late, playing very well. Stroud is looking great. I mean, he is actually proving. I have always talked about how I thought their future was going to be electric because they have the building blocks of Stroud and Anderson. I absolutely love the team going out and getting those guys this year. But now they're even ready to compete, it seems. Like they've gotten some wins so far this season. And the Falcons are a team that I was honestly surprised to be favored in this matchup. Some of these underdog picks and whatever are kind of just like, I'm not 100% sure and I'm more feeling an upset. But this is one where, and I would say the ones I have hit on are ones where I genuinely think like, wow, that's surprising that's team's the favorite. And this is what I get from that. The Falcons looked rough. I mean, Bijan is great at running back, and they have that going, and they have Algier, but I am still pretty hesitant here with Desmond Ridder and what else that offense brings in the passing game. And I can also understand not willing to give up on him yet and go to Heineke. I guess, understand it, but at the same time, I'm just getting the vibe that Ritter may not be the guy right now that they need to compete this year. And so I'll be interested if they maybe just roll with him this year and see if they do have something or whether it's going to be more of the same. But I saw him as well, like when he came out as a fourth-round talent is what I kind of saw it, where I think Ritter can be a solid backup if he just keeps it safe. I don't know, though, right now if he's playing at a starter level. So with that, I have to go with the Texans here, which is something that at the beginning of the season I didn't think I'd be saying much because on paper I thought their nucleus, their core looked great for the future, but I thought that I was a little hesitant of their ability right now, but they've proven otherwise. Panthers, Lions. The Lions, I'm still like, now I'm kind of buying in a little bit. I've been pretty hesitant for a while. I'm still not all the way in, but when you go against the Panthers, I have to go with them here. If I wasn't picking who would win the game, this could be a sneaky upset, honestly, for me, or at least a cover. But right now, I think it's safe. I have to go with the Lions. They are winning games, and that's what you have to do in this league. And the Panthers are not winning games, which is once again what you have to do in this league. It's really tough what they're bringing, what they're throwing Bryce out with. Really, it's a little tough, like on the offensive line, and they have. Sounds like they want to trade for a top receiver, but once again, they kind of feel like they went to like Madden 20 or Madden 19 and then just went and signed some of those guys, and that's what they kind of have on that roster. But I think to be safe here, I just have to go with the Lions. They've been a more consistent team this season, and I don't know what the Panthers have right now. It's really tough that, they're going to be potentially this bad and they don't have their pick for next year. Dolphins, Giants, I just have to go with the Dolphins. That's a safe choice. Even though they get the loss last week, they have shown some high-flying offense ability. They can run the ball. They can pass the ball. They have weapons all over the field. And the Giants have kind of yet to show that. A really rough showing this past week on Monday night for that offense and Daniel Jones and everyone involved there. I did have the Giants taking a huge step down. I honestly don't know if it was this step down. I mean, you're a couple plays in the Cardinals game away from, barely having anything right now. And so I just have to go with the Dolphins here to be safe. I don't know if they're going to figure it out in New York. Maybe they do with Saquon coming back to run the ball a little bit, but I think they just need to get more confidence back. They have a lot committed to Daniel Jones, and they're going to roll with him. They just need to maybe simplify things up a little bit and just get it to where it's capable. I mean, they're down offensive linemen, and they don't have a ton of receivers, but they got to try to make what they can with what they have. So I have to go with the Dolphins in this matchup. It's just a safe pick. This next one's tough for me. I'm really kind of on the fence. Saints did not look great last week, but I thought before that they have been having a pretty good season. Patriots, same thing like last week. What happened against the Cowboys? It was brutal. I mean, that game, it was, of course, I think the biggest loss by a Bill Belichick coached team, at least in New England. And it was ugly. I mean, there were pick sixes all over, and it was a tough one to watch that for the Patriots. And so it's one of those things where these are two teams that have kind of struggled a little bit, and I really could see this going either way. I'm just gonna, if I'm really struggling to make a choice, I'm gonna go with the underdog here just because I think that there's a chance it always happens in that way. But this one might be the toughest game, in my opinion, to predict this week. This is, I think, one where two teams that struggled last week, but I still have confidence in what they're trying to do offensively. Like, I still think the Patriots' offense this season is miles ahead better than what they had last year. But right now, they're not playing their top ball. Neither are the Saints. So it's kind of a tough one. I'm going to take the Saints just because I like their upside of the offense more, especially with Kamara back. Now, of course, last week he had like 13 catches for 30 yards. You just don't do that, but get him in open space and maybe get something to work there. I think they could still have a decent season. So I'm going to go with the Saints. That one's a tough one. Ravens, Steelers. I'm going to go with the Ravens. I just, right now, the Steelers, are enough to always, it seems like, kind of battle their way through. But last week, they weren't able to do against the Texans, which I was very surprised with. how poorly that was. I mean, the offense has always been a question, obviously, as of late, but they're in a tough spot right now. I'm honestly shocked the spread is so low for the Ravens here. I'm going to go with them because I just think they have more firepower offensively. The Steelers' defense is still great, and absolutely credit to them. But if they face a competent offense, I think that it's going to be difficult for them to pull through with that. Like, thinking of the last few wins the Steelers have had, it's against teams that have been struggling offensively, or even games they play well. Whether it was the Raiders with a questionable Jimmy G, or the Browns and whatever Watson was playing like at the moment. I have to go with the Ravens here in this matchup. It's just a safer pick. The Eagles and the Rams, this one is one of those things where it's like, shocked the Eagles are only favored by 4, but not really. The Rams have been tough. They have been fighting, and they keep playing well against some teams. They get that overtime win last week against the Colts. Puka Nacua coming in clutch again. But the Eagles are one of these teams where they haven't been winning by as much as you think they would. I still think on paper they have. Going into the season, I thought they may have the top roster. Right now, they're playing like a top 3 team still, but one of these days, someone's going to catch them. And the Rams are right on the break of where a team where I am going to probably pick an upset against the Eagles soon, but the Rams are right in that level where it's like, I think almost a team, if there was a single team better than that, I think that's where I would draw the line on a potential upset. I think to be safe, I have to go with the Eagles. It reminds me of, I think it was last year or 2 years ago, when I thought the Lions were finally going to win some close games. So I picked the Lions like 6 weeks in a row, or maybe it was at least 4. And they kept getting so close. I'm like, okay, next week they're actually getting it. That ended up costing me 4 picks. I get the opposite feeling with this with the Eagles, where I got to keep picking the Eagles because they're delivering. But at one of these times, I do think the upset will happen and they will get taken off by somebody. But the Rams are right on the border where I just don't know if they always are consistent enough right now to be a team that could beat the Eagles. But, man, they have a shot. I mean, they definitely are playing really, really well. So anything's on the table there, but for now I'm going to go with the Eagles. Oh, the Bengals. I just see the Bengals, and it's like I have to talk to the Bengals. The Bengals might be this year's Lions of what I was just talking about, where I've picked the Bengals a majority of the time, and they just don't show up right now. I mean, it's just crazy that, they are not really clicking as the way it would seem, and I don't know if it's all Burrow's health. It might be. I mean, we had the Jamar Chase quote about him always being open this week, but Burrow has not been it so far. But then again, you don't know if it is the injury still. It's just kind of a tough spot overall. But I'm not going to make the claim they're going to bounce back again this week. I mean, I don't know. Once again, if they were playing somebody besides a couple teams on the list, and the Cardinals are one of them, I'd probably pick on the other side. But one of these again where the Cardinals are like that Lions team. Again, I keep making this comparison, but the Cardinals might be the best example where they always play this thing tight. I mean, they always play every game. They keep it close. It's a tight spread. They always fight. And Josh Dobbs is putting up, he's trying his best out there, and he obviously can deliver at times. So, I mean, last week, obviously, against the Niners wasn't crazy close, but they always at least have some effort going on. So, the Bengals is who I'm going to go with. I just think it's safer, but this could get ugly real fast if the Bengals lose this one. Jets, Broncos, real tough. We got the Nathaniel Hackett revenge. Would have been kind of cool to have Rodgers here, but obviously that didn't happen. And to recap last Sunday night, Zach Wilson actually played a pretty darn good game, but it wasn't enough to deliver a win. He had to fumble late, but he did look a little bit more improved, which is what you like to see. The Broncos do get their first win last week, so that was huge for them. But I still think this Jets defense is ferocious. They have what the best teams, what that Eagles team when they won the Super Bowl against the Patriots a few years ago, is that depth on the edge and the defensive line. And the Jets have that to me. Even you look at having a guy like Bryce Huff be a situational pass rusher and that they can bring him in. Explosive guy. I can't believe he went undrafted a few years ago. I'm going to go with the Jets. I think that their defense is strong enough that if Zach Wilson can play anything like he did last week, that's enough to beat the Broncos, because I think the Jets can kind of stop the Broncos offensively. And so I'm going to go with the Jets there. I think that this one could be close, but I just have, even though they both have struggled at times, I see more consistency in what the Jets are doing. Okay, this next pick is off the rails, and I know that. And this may be a little bit too bold. But here's the thing. Just looking at historical, this one might be the worst looking pick in a week, or it could be the best. Biggest underdog, I think, of the week I'm picking, I believe. If I quick look at that, I think so. Close to one of the biggest underdogs I've picked this season. I think there was one bigger one. This just got to bear with. I think this is exactly the type of game that the Vikings win for no reason and that the Chiefs could slip up in this one. I really don't have much else to say about it because this is a total feeling one where, the Vikings are a team that they lose to some teams that you think they might not, that they shouldn't lose to, and they do. And then they come out and last year, I know it was a miracle, but they beat the Bills. It's like, holy cow, how did they just do that? On the road. Here they're at home. The Vikings, I'm not out on yet. I think that last week was a great stepping stone for them. I do think that they, once again, if they just avoid the turnovers, which is obviously still something they have to do. They even had the pick six last week, but if you can even limit it to 1 or 2 a game, I think that team gets maybe even all 3 of the previous games. For sure, 2 of them. I'd say that of the 3 before last week's win, this team you're talking about 3-1 or even maybe potentially, but I'm going to say a 3-1 team if you keep the turnovers under wraps. And I don't know what exactly was going on, but last week the Chiefs, they get the win, but a little bit ugly. Some bold decisions. And I'm going to put a little bit of faith in Brian Flores scheming something up this week to maybe make it work. I mean, the Jets were able to bottle them up a little bit last week, and I'm going to go with that happens this week. Once again, this is absolutely bold take territory, but this is exactly the type of game where something crazy happens for either team. So I think that will be a great game to watch, probably the best one in that window for sure. Then the Cowboys and Niners, maybe you could make a case for also that day being one of the best of the week. But for this one on a Sunday night, it's a great matchup. Cowboys still looking absolutely dominant. They've had a flat game. They looked bad against the Cardinals. The Niners have not really had a poor game. The Cowboys at their best are better, I'd say, than what we've seen than the Niners at their best. But it would take a pick 6 or 2 against this team for the Cowboys to pull this out, and that absolutely could happen. But right now, it's safer for me to go with the Niners, just because they're more consistent. I know what we're getting on a weekly basis. Purdy, for as much like some people hesitate, he may not be a high ceiling guy, but he can be Kirk Cousins. Maybe can't throw it as far down the field, but he can just not turn the ball over, keep it safe, and that's enough for this team, Jimmy G style, and they made it to a Super Bowl with Jimmy G. That could easily happen again this year. He keeps it safe, so there's more consistency, and they also have McCaffrey. I'm confident in their ability to run the ball and then give it to him in open space. So there just is more consistency in what I feel with the Niners right now than what the Cowboys are putting out there. But the Cowboys on a good game certainly deliver. For now, I got to go with the Niners, but this could be a classic. And then the Packers and Raiders still getting a prime time. The Raiders go with O'Connell last week. It ended up, I think, being a pretty close game, but still I think that it was a little rusty still, and I don't know what. I actually don't disagree with the decision. I believe it still had something to do with Garoppolo's health, but overall, going to O'Connell this season, depending on what the situation is, I mean, he could certainly be that next like 4th, 5th round guy. I think it'll be him or DTR that comes out of this class as kind of a surprising, might end up being a starting quarterback in this league, like a Dak Prescott type of player in a couple of years. But the Packers, I just see more from. I know they didn't win last week against the Lions, but I think they're a little bit more consistent. I will also say, I was originally going to make a Jordan Love film breakdown. I'm not ready yet because it was going to be talking about how Jordan Love is actually pretty good. I have to be honest, I've seen what I see. He has the building blocks to be good, and they have the right guy. He just right now is missing some of the accuracy to really be a solid quarterback, but he has the ability to know where he is in the pocket. He has the ability to kind of step up, move around, and go through his progressions really well. Those two things stick out on tape. He also is pretty mobile, but right now, he just is missing a little bit of the accuracy and touch, and specifically in the deep balls. When he's throwing it deep, it's kind of, a hit or miss. But the Raiders, I just also haven't seen anything to give me confidence out of. So for that reason, I think I have to go with the Packers, even though both, I've been hesitant at times. So with that being said, those are my picks for this week. All these teams on this side. We'll see how it goes. Last week went well. Hoping to continue that this week. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.